Okay. So we're lying down. And let your eyes close, and we'll just take a couple of minutes here to just breathe and get ourselves centered in our space. Deep inhales and exhales. With the inhale, allow your whole front body to balloon up and out. And as the exhale comes, allow the back to feel very heavy and grounded into the floor beneath you. And then just see if you could follow your breath in this way. So again, the inhaling, there's this kind of like a mushrooming effect, like everything grows up and out from your center, from your back. And then as the exhale comes, everything grounds and gets heavy, sort of from the front. Then see if you can follow your breath in and out in this lifting and lowering motion. And then if you can also just sort of sense yourself in between, suspended there. And as you're breathing and feeling and getting yourself into our time and our space here, use the inhales to allow the front body to mushroom up and out like you've been doing. And then in honor of our intention with the core, as the exhale comes, can you just imagine that belly button moving down in toward your spine, and there's just a bit of engagement through that whole core area. And the exhale also just drops out the back body. The inhale, again, brings that mushrooming effect, the up and out. And as the exhale comes, it comes from the belly button, and the belly button moves down in toward the spine. And as the exhale completes, the back becomes very heavy and just lets go. And just following your own breath, and if there is any intention that you would like to set for this next hour that you spend on your mat and in your body, go ahead and make that intention known to yourself now. And our physical intentions will be that deep core in the front body, and the lower back and the back body. And let's just play around with allowing those two things to better support each other. So as you are ready to, go ahead and take one more nice deep breath here, inhaling and exhaling. And then go ahead and draw your knees in toward your chest, and hug those knees in, and maybe bring your face in toward your knees. And just take a couple of moments here to kind of wake things up. Maybe you cup the knees with your hands and just give yourself some circles with those knees. My knees want to go in totally different directions. Maybe yours want to stay together. Whatever would feel good to you is great. So you're kind of helping these knees move. Noticing how as you move these knees in the direction that they move, of course they're attached to your big old thigh bone, and that thigh bone is plugged right into your hips. So can you move your attention up into that hip girdle? Can you feel your lower back? And can that place that's normally probably stiff and tight, can you allow this movement of your knees to help release your low back by way of your thigh bones? And then can you get your core to support in this whole process? Draw your legs together. Give yourself capital T arms. Your palms can face up or down. And make circles with your knees. Keep the knees together now and draw a great big old circle on the ceiling, taking the knees toward you and then over to the right. and then away from you. And you can make this circle quite small to start out with. And what I would love for you to feel is just how your core, the front, picks up depending on where you send your knees. So there's intelligence in here. There's opposite sides picking up. There is that reciprocal inhibition that I love so much, the one side engaging so the other side can let go. And just asking your core to kind of start to take up some of this work so that as you move these legs and you send these big old heavy thigh bones away from you, that your belly button moves in toward the spine and there's some action there. Like making an imprint of your pelvis. Now, go ahead and take the soles of the feet down onto the mat. Let the knees point up toward the ceiling. The knees do not need to be together. And we'll just flow through the lower spine a little bit. So as you exhale, push this belly button down in toward the spine and push your back body into the mat. There's a little scoop to this tailbone too as you exhale. And then as you inhale, send your tailbone out long toward between your feet. Allow this natural curve of your lower back to come through and allow the back body to engage a little bit. Exhaling, draw it in, and inhaling, send it out. And I'm trying to exaggerate it so you can see it on camera, but it's not a big movement. It's not a huge movement. It's really more a matter of just articulating this lower spine and just kind of waking up these core muscles and getting them involved in the journey. So before we actually start working them, go ahead and just take these knees and windshield wiper them, send them one direction and the other, and just come back again to this study of how you're moving your knees, but you're really moving your thigh bones and you're moving your hips. And there's a little twist to this lower back. We're putting a little bit of movement in here. And you can even see here how your core kind of picks up to help this movement happen. Bring this back to center. Give yourself a couple more flows through what we were doing before. Exhale, putting that lower back down into the mat and inhaling, releasing that. Noticing the relationship between the tailbone and the pelvis as you do that. And go ahead and draw these knees up toward you then. And we'll do some heel taps and toe taps. So go ahead and take heels down and then draw knees in toward chest. And take toes down and draw knees in toward chest. And you can do this movement very slowly. There's a ton of just really great things happening with your muscles here. It's a little bit further to go on one of these. So let that happen for your body. Noticing how you need to put a little bit more resonance in the front body when you bring the toes down. And if you want to make this more difficult for yourself, you can bring everything out further away from you so there's longer to go. Or, you know, if you're just kind of putting the movement together and feeling it for yourself, keep everything close into your bum and then you don't have to work so hard. Cool? All right. Go ahead and come back to knees to chest. Interlace your fingers behind your head. Let your shoulder blades come up off the mat, but don't let them come off too far, because what I would love for you to see now is how you actually have this upper body connection too. And I think a lot of this has to do with that good posture you feel when you go on walks after we do some of this work. Let your elbows be really, really wide and press your head into your hands. Press your hands back into your head and feel how that already brings a connection into your upper core. And then again, go ahead and go heels down and toes down and heels down and toes down. So don't let your neck help you here, but also pay attention to what your elbows are doing. Don't let them start to try to point up toward the ceiling. Keep them sending out so that you have your side muscles, your obliques, that also help with this motion. Okay, let's go ahead and take this back to just windshield wiper knees. Take your feet nice and wide, like mat width apart, and go ahead and windshield wiper these guys. So for that one, we kind of focused on a lot of the really big, deep core muscles, which are really important. We definitely need those. But there's also the psoas, which is the front. This is a hip flexor, the thing that helps you flex your hips, right? So we can get those involved a little bit too. Go ahead and interlace your fingers behind your head once again. And again, don't worry about too much height in your shoulders, because what I would love for you to play around with is just keeping these elbows wide and how you have to recruit your sides in order to do that. Door number one would be to keep the feet down, and you can just draw one knee and elbow together. But how you get your psoas involved is you take this knee across center. So don't bring your elbow too far over to your knee. Bring your knee over to your elbow too. And then come back. And again, bring knee cross body. That's your psoas helping to flex this. And then bring elbow to knee, or maybe they don't even really touch. If you wanted to add on to this, then take the other leg off the ground and put more fluid motion into this. I like it better to tap my heel down because I can get it further away from my body, but that's just me. Again, less spice on it is to keep the feet toward the ground, touching the ground. And again, choose your own adventure. It doesn't have to be a total ass kicker, you know. When you're done with it, go ahead and come back to knees, hugging. Go ahead and rock a little bit from side to side. Okay, so here's another one that you can kind of amp up to whatever degree you find appropriate. It's a Pilates move, it's called the 100. So you send your legs up and the arms go forward. So again, we're incorporating a lot of the upper core so that your lower core doesn't have to do everything. Everything kind of works in concert. So see if you can reach your fingertips forward away from you, but then at the same time, can you pull these shoulders back just a little bit so everything's plugged in, and then you just pump these arms. In a real Pilates class, you would pump these arms 100 times, and that's where 100 comes from. You inhale to a count of 5, and exhale to a count of 5. If your neck gets tired, you can actually put your head down and keep your shoulders still active. My neck doesn't like it, but it is an option. You can also take an inhale, adding on, making it more difficult. Inhaling, sending one leg down. Exhaling, bringing it back up. Inhaling, send the other leg down. When your dog's not in the way, you can send it all the way to the floor. And back up. One more on the starting side. One more on the second side. Okie dokie. Go ahead and be done with this. Have your knees in. Go ahead and send one leg out. Send your left leg out long and keep your right knee. And just take a moment here to relax. Come back to that breath that we started with. Even though you've got this right leg hugged in, it's moving toward your right ribs. And there is a stretch happening in your right hip. And there's openness in your back, low back. And then just go ahead and switch sides. Take your left knee and send your right leg out long. And then again, just take a couple of breaths here. Let your belly move right into your thigh. And as you exhale, just let the back melt down and just let that go. Go ahead and bring the soles of the feet down onto the mat. The knees point up toward the ceiling. Feet are about hips width apart. Take your hands down by your hips and then come back to that pelvic tilt that we were playing around with before. We'll turn this into a bridge. But start with that pelvic tilt. Exhale, peel the lower spine up off the mat and lift this up into a bridge. And then go ahead and exhale and just set your spine down, starting at your shoulders, going all the way back down and letting that spine go. Take a couple more of those, just lifting the spine up, allowing the front body to stretch out a little bit after that ab work that we did. And then go ahead and lower this back down. So, yogi's choice. Let's back out of this one more. So door number one. Door number one is you peel the spine up off the mat, you lift these hips, and then all you do is take your attention into your lower back. Drop your left hip down, lift your left hip back up. Drop your right hip down, lift your right hip back up. We're studying pelvic stability here and support from the front side to keep your back healthy. Then if you feel tired and you need to get out, you just lower back down. Cool. Door number two is to peel the spine up, up, up on the exhale. Inhale, take these arms up over. Exhale, lower your spine back down piece by piece from the top. And inhale, take these arms down. Exhale, peel the spine up. Inhale, take the arms up overhead. Exhale, lower spine back down. Inhale, the arms follow to the starting position. So let's call that door number two. I'll run through these again. If you've already found what you want to work on, then just go ahead and stay there and just do your thing. The last one is much more intense and it builds core strength and again, this hip stability that we're working on, but it's much more physically challenging. So you're going to lift these hips up. The hands stay down by your hips on the floor. You're going to lift one leg up. Secret option B is to lift the opposite arm up and then lower. Lift the left leg up. You can lift the arm, it just adds more load. You don't have to, you can just do the legs, so you're kind of like a little rocket. But what your challenge is to not move the hips so much. Use your belly button moving down in toward your spine to help support. You are using your bum, but not too much. It's a lot of hamstring too, so there's a gentle pull back with these heels every time you set the foot down. Pull energetically back, it's going to help support you from underneath. Cool, everyone seems to have found their space. So when you're over all of this, let me know by just hugging your knees back in, and then we'll move on. These look great, good jobs. And if you just wanted to go into the bridge without the arms, obviously you could do that too. It's all just stuff you can do, right? Okay, go ahead and rock and roll your sweet self front to back. Grab the backs of the thighs to do that. Be gentle with your neck. If you're like, I am not rocking and rolling, I don't want to, then we're headed toward a child's pose, so just go ahead and make your way that way. Hello, Ruby. Let your knees be nice and wide and bring your hips back toward your heels. Taking a couple of breaths here. So now I just flipped everything the other way around. So we'll work on a little bit of back core stuff, but first let's move into the hips and stretch those out, which will help with lower back stuff and also help us to strengthen our backs after we stretch them out. So from here, go ahead and come to all fours. Come to all fours, and then go ahead and just give yourself a couple around the world. So go ahead and come forward and over to one side and bring your hips back to your heels and come through the other side. Okay. And then go ahead and come back up to center. Send this right leg straight out back behind you. And then draw this right knee in toward your face and take your face toward your knee too. They may touch and they may not. And then inhale and send this back out. And exhale and draw it in. Inhale and send it back out. Exhale and draw it back in. And now make a big circle with this. So see if you can send this right knee straight out to the right. And then out back behind you. And then in towards center where it started. And then back toward your face and out to the right. And then take a couple of these. And then see if you can go the other direction. And all we're really doing is just taking, once again, that big old thigh bone and moving it around in your hip. We just changed our relationship to gravity is all. So now go ahead and take this right foot and step it forward in between your hands. And we'll turn this into a nice little low lunge. So go ahead and if you need to pick up this foot and move it, you can kind of inchworm the foot forward, whatever feels good to you. Your back toes can be tucked or untucked, entirely up to you. This knee should be directly over this ankle. You can press the top of the back foot into the mat, and that will help you get more engagement through the front of this left hip. You can go ahead and come up, take these hands up to your right knee. Karen, see if you can take everything a little bit more forward. Send your hip bones forward. Yeah, like that. That looks like it feels better, but if it doesn't, then don't listen to me. Take a couple more breaths here. Use your back foot. Press it down into the mat, but use it as an escape hatch. You're making it more intense, but if you don't want it so intense, then just back off by taking less pressure in that back foot. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring the fingertips down. You can put them on either side of this right foot, and then just rock this hips back. Send these right toes up toward the ceiling, and you're just stretching the back of that right leg now. And the right toes, so that's another place where you're putting more spice on things. The more these toes go up toward the ceiling, the more the front of your leg is going to engage. So thusly, the more the back of the leg will stretch. So if you want to just put less intention in the foot, it'll actually give you less stretch overall. Yeah, so then go ahead and just flow through your hips once again. Take the sole of the right foot back down onto the mat. And if you wanted to just stay down, you could keep fingertips down and just send the heart forward. If you wanted to flow this, then the arms could go up too. You can take this back down and rock the hips back down and back. So just flow at your own pace. All we're really doing is giving the hips this nice glide front to back. They need this movement a lot, so you can pretty much do this whenever, daily. Okay, so next time you're coming down into the lunge, go ahead and stay in that lunge, and go ahead and toe heel your right foot out to the right so that you have lots of space to bring both hands to the inside of your right foot. Okay, so do this for me. Tuck your back toes under and lift that back knee and just see if you can walk that back knee back any further. If the answer is no, that's an acceptable answer, okay? Yes, like that. Cool. So we'll call this door number 1. This might be plenty for you. As you probably gathered, it's a hip stretch. So if you like this, stay here. If you want to, and you have the room to, you could come down onto forearms. So I just lowered my body down. Another thing you can do here is tuck these back toes and lift this back knee. And you're just going to the place where it's good for you. And you just say thank you very much, and then you leave it. Cool. So let's do the other side. So first of all, you're pretty deep in this stretch, so go ahead and tuck your back toes under and walk that knee back forward if you need to. Yeah. And then you can go ahead and take this right knee back to meet the left. Let's do that much on the second side. Go ahead and take this left foot forward. And again, we're going to be in this lunge for a while. That's part of the charm, is just staying in it. So go ahead and set yourself up nicely. You want this knee over the ankle. It can be slightly forward of the ankle, especially if you're in a low lunge like we've been doing. It's totally fine. Those back toes can be tucked or not tucked. You can be vertical or not vertical. But just take a couple moments here and just find this lunge. Find your hips on this new side, maybe a little bit crunchy to start off with. So we're going to invite them to open up. Take a couple more breaths here in the lunge. Okay. And then go ahead and bring your fingertips down. And then we're going to stretch the back of this left leg. So for me, I just leave the heel where it's at and I just rock the hips back. Yeah. Yeah, that works. I like that better for you here. And then what you can do from there is just actually take your face forward. And as your face goes forward, your heart will go forward, and you should find it stretches everything. And then when you're ready to, go ahead and flow this, but remember, it's your body, so make it your movement. Mine, I like to take the arms up on the inhale and back down. And exhaling, take the hips back. But really all we're doing, right, is just moving the thigh bones and the hips the way that they naturally move. This is one of my favorite flows to do. I do it all the time because it's relatively easy and it's just such a stabilizing motion. Okay, so when you're ready to, let's go ahead and get a little bit deeper into the hips by taking your hands down on the inside of the left foot. Toe heel this left foot out to the left edge of your mat. And again, this will be door number one. So your hands stay underneath your shoulders. You have a little bit more height. There's lots of space in the hips, and this is a great place to be. And if you need more stretch on this, the key here is just like with the others that we've been doing. If your face goes forward, your heart's going to follow, and that's actually where the intensity will ratchet up. You can also ratchet it up by coming down onto your forearms. Just making sure that elbows stay beneath the shoulders so that you're supported here. And then you can also tuck these back toes under and lift the back knee, putting a little bit more power in this pose. But again, I'm giving you the whole range of options so that you can choose. The whole point of this is just a hip opener. So the whole point of this is door number one, where we were when we landed in it. Couple more breaths here. Okay, and go ahead and take yourself out of this, and we're going Picasso today because I forgot to do the rounded motions that we started the other side with. So go ahead and bring this left knee back and send it straight back, and then bring it toward your face toward the knee. And maybe they touch and maybe they don't. Send this back out and draw it back in. And then let's do our circles. Inhale and send it back out. Exhale and draw it in. And then take this left knee out to the left and out back behind you. And again, make it your own movement. The only reason we're doing it is to make circles with your thigh. So however you accomplish that, good on you. Okay. So from here, go ahead and come down onto your forearms. You can have two different options for your arms. I always prefer to do prayer. I just feel structurally better about it, but railroad track arms is an option too. So you decide prayer or railroad track arms, and we're gonna just do a plank. Send the legs back. Keep your legs together. And what I would love for you to study here is that same exact pelvic tilt that we were doing on our backs. So as you exhale, is it possible for you to tuck the tailbone down toward the heels, power up through the backs of the legs, and give your lower back some space? And as you exhale, is it possible to press your forearms down, and can you feel the up energy into your shoulders and your upper back, and can you kind of ride that energy? Keeping more resonance in your core, exhaling, the belly button moves up and in toward the spine now, and as it moves up and in, there's that opening that comes through your back. All right, let's go ahead and get out of this. Just come to your belly and just make a little hand pillow. If you need to, windshield wipers work here too. You can just bend your knees and put your feet up in the air, and you can just windshield wiper your feet, and it'll release your back the same way it does when we're on our backs. Cool, cool. From here, go ahead and push yourself through all fours and bring yourself back to child's pose. You can let your knees go wide. Just get out of your back for a minute. Okay, go ahead and roll yourself back onto your belly once again. And then let's practice, let's build on what we were just doing. So come back to your forearms. You can do your railroad track arms, or you can do your prayer hands. And then go ahead and bring your heart through. There's someone directly outside of the back of my house right now. It's okay, Ruby. Okay, so from here, what I'm going for is articulating the upper spine like we've been articulating the lower spine. So you're pressing your hands. I'm going to choose railroad track arms this time. You can do it with prayer hands if you want to. You're pulling your heart through forward, and as the heart goes through, the shoulder blades draw together behind you. You're pressing down into your forearms, shoulders drawing together, heart moving forward, chin lifted. Okay, and then you can take this apart. Go ahead and take that circle knot, bring your chin down toward your chest, press the forearms into the mat, and let everything lift up. The more you take your hips back, the more strength is required of you. So again, you can put as much spice on this as you want. What I'm going for really is just for you to find power in your forearms, power in the articulation of the upper spine, and that's what gives you the lift to the hips. Okay, so you're inhaling to bring the heart through and the shoulders together. Lots of opening through your chest. And then as you exhale and press the forearms down, you articulate through that upper spine using lots of core strength here. And then again, the more you push your hips back, the more is required strength-wise in your arms. So you could leave it here in just a forearm plank on the knees, and that would be cool. Is that making sense? Pick a couple more. Okay. Looking good. These I have a hard time with. There's lots of mobility that you need in your shoulders. They can be really difficult. So from here, go ahead and come back to your hand pillow. Bend your knees. Windshield wiper your feet. Okay. Go ahead and push yourself back through all fours and come into your child's pose. Let the knees be nice and wide. Let your belly go right in between your thighs. Let it hang. And see if you can come back to the same breath exercise that we did at the beginning of this, but your relationship to gravity has changed, but the way that you breathe through it hasn't changed. So you're inhaling, and there's still that mushrooming effect to the front body. Your belly still is expanding up and out in all directions. It's just going to run into your thighs now. And as you exhale, there's still that melting quality that comes into your low back. But now it's just more like kind of like a waterfall that goes down your hips as it melts. Okay, go ahead and bring yourself up to seated on your shins and then cross your ankles and just come up and over your crossed ankles. Let's give you a nice little twist here. But first, let's do another hip opener really quick for you. So let's just do a thread the needle pose. Come to your back. Cross your right ankle over top of your left knee. Draw your left knee in. And just take your thread the needle pose. That was a lot of new core moves and random stuff. So let's do something that you know and that your body knows really well. Just take some time to put together a really nice hip opener for your own personal right hip. I also gave you a lot of levels, a lot of doors, a lot of choose your own adventure. So do the same thing here. This is one that we've done a lot. So maybe you know that you like this. You just want to stay here. Maybe you know that getting a little deeper into the hip is what you want. So you take this left knee from 12 o'clock over to like 10 or so. And the right hip comes up off the mat and you hug in a little bit tighter. All the while, just letting your breath flow through the whole thing. That's the most important part, is the breath. You go ahead and bring this back onto your back if you took that variation. Go ahead and take this right foot in your hand. You can grab the arch side or the pinky toe side. Send the left leg out long. Bend this left knee and bring the left thigh in toward your right ribs. This left arm, it can move up overhead so that you have a nice long heavy left side. You can take this left hand and put it on your left hip to help it remember to stay down. And you know, since we went Picasso accidentally in the last section, let's do it purposely this time. Turn this into a happy baby. Take your left foot up into happy baby 2. And then go ahead and let the right leg go down, and we'll do our happy baby before we do our thread the needle. Look at us. So rebellious. Again, this right arm, it can be up overhead so that the whole right sideline of the body is heavy and long. The right hand can be on the right hip to help encourage it down. I guess you could do capital T with the right arm and just send it directly out to the right as well. Take one more big deep breath here. And then go ahead and draw your right knee back in toward you and take this left ankle and cross it over top of the right knee and do your thread the needle on this side. Take a couple breaths here. As you know, this is door number 1. It's a nice big old fat stretch across the whole left gluteus medius. And if you love it here, you stay right here. This right knee can also go out to like 1 or 2. That's going to take your left hip up off the mat, and you'll find that you can hug in a little bit tighter and everything gets a lot more intense in that left hip. And breathe. And go ahead and bring this back onto your back, flat onto your back. Release this thread the needle pose. Keep this right knee, send the left leg back out long again. And then turn this into a nice little twist, stacking this right hip on top of the left. Give yourself capital T arms. You're trying to make this right shoulder blade stay down on the mat. And the right hip, it also doesn't have to stack perfectly on top, but just take a moment to run your attention through your spine and just notice the nice little gentle twist that you have going. So this is door number 1, and if you want to stay here, you can stay here. You can also put a little motion into this and release for your shoulder by taking this right hand, right arm, moving that right hand down toward your right hip, and then bringing it over toward your left hand. So now you're not twisting. And then take this right arm up, and then you come back into that twist. And take this around, so it's just this great big old motion for your shoulder. You might notice there's a nice little gentle massage for the bottom shoulder. And there's that cool twist for your spine where it's super gentle, but you're actually articulating all of those vertebrae to get there. So I really like this motion, actually. Let's check it out on the other side. Come back to your back with your left knee in, send your right leg long. And then turn this into a twist. And again, twist your own spine the way that it makes sense to you. So in a perfect world, because we're rotating the hips, your left shoulder is going to stay on the mat, and then your left hip will stack on top of the right to whatever degree your left shoulder can stay on the mat. Give yourself capital T arms, and again, if you want to just stay here, you can totally just stay here. Otherwise, take this left arm and move it just like a clock down toward your left hip. Come through. Now you're not twisting. Take this up over, and then you just kind of fall back into the twist. And then if you take your attention down into your bottom shoulder, you'll notice that kind of like the knee circles that we do where we're just running the thigh bone through the hip bone. It's kind of the same thing. You're massaging the shoulder and you're just kind of running it through its range of motion. That feels natural and good for it. All right, go ahead and come back to your back. Hug your knees back in toward your chest. So let's end this practice with, as always, a little bit of personalized work that makes sense for you. So you can send the legs up toward the ceiling and just make an L out of your body and just have this be a legs up the wall pose and just leave it at that. You could do another 100 if you wanted, or you could take these legs, squeeze them together, and lower them gently toward the floor. This will also give you that pelvic tilt and a study of how you need to pull the belly down in order to keep the low back pressed down. If you like the idea of core work, but that's too intense for you, you could always do the roll up and roll over that we've been practicing, where you take these legs up and over, and then come back through seated, and fold forward. Secret option B is just to go into Shavasana and just treat yourself to a nice long Shavasana. You could also do a shoulder stand from here if you like, where these legs go up overhead and then you send the legs up. Do whatever feels good to you, and if what feels good to you is just to lay there and look up at the ceiling, then that's perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and just do your own work for like the next minute or so, like 10 big deep breaths. And then after that, we'll start to make our way towards Shavasana. So I'll let you know when that time's up, but just check it out for now. All right, when you are ready for Shavasana, just go ahead and set yourself up, let your eyes close, and just start to go even more internal. Organize your body exactly as you like it. Shavasana in a perfect world has everything just laying flat like a corpse, right? Your legs are long, your arms are flat out to the sides. The palms face up because that leaves the most neutral rotation to the arms. But what's not neutral is if you send your legs out long and your low back immediately starts barking at you, right? There's nothing neutral about that. So make sure that everything feels just really mellow for you too. And if that means that you bend the knees and knock the knees together, then that's your neutral, that counts, right? You can also take your couch cushion and put it under your big old thigh bones. We've done a lot of work with the thigh bones in the hip girdle. So those muscles have gotten some work. Might be nice to take a cushion or something and just relieve them. What I would love for you to find is just a place where you just feel awesome in your body. You can feel the work that we just did for the last hour. Your body feels open, your breath feels like it's flowing. And come back to that breathing exercise that we started with, where you simply inhale and allow expansion everywhere you can, up and out. And as the exhale comes, there is a surrender. You're letting go, a heaviness, a release. Just following the breath into the body and out of the body. And as the breath moves in and expands you, the breath nourishes your muscles and the blood, your body. And as the exhale comes, it leaves your body and just mixes with space. And as the inhale comes, that which was outside of you is now in, nourishing, supporting you. And as the exhale comes, your body has taken the nourishment that it needs, and what was in moves out. Take your attention to one spot in your body that needs some extra love and attention. Maybe it's your low back, maybe it is your core, maybe it's more like your energetic heart. It's your heart that needs some love and attention from you. But as you're lying here, bring your attention to your own personal spot that needs it. And as you breathe, keep your attention on that spot. Inhaling, taking in the nourishment that is needed from the air around you and sending it directly to that spot on your body that needs the nourishment. And as the exhale comes, all the nourishment that could be taken has been. So we let that go so that the new inhale can come into that spot and nourish it again. Keeping your attention on that spot for just one more moment, can you imagine a healing white light, like a spark, a sparkler on that spot? Imagine that spot totally healed, made brand new, and then imagine the spot encompassing your whole body. Your whole body is just glowing with white light. Healing white light, replenishing with each inhale that comes in and letting go with each exhale that goes out. And using that breath now to foster some movement in your body, so letting the breath get so big that you can even feel it in your fingers and your toes, and maybe they start to wiggle. It's just time to move them. Just letting the whole breath, like a fireplace bellows, just breathe you back to life and movement. And taking your time, but when it feels right to you, maybe you go and park it on your right side or your left side for a moment. But making your way to a comfortable seat as it feels appropriate. And then closing your practice, go ahead and bring your hands to your heart, and in prayer, just stack them, whatever feels good to you, and just take a moment here. And thank yourself for being here and making the effort and being up for the challenge and having a spirit of exploration around your body and around the things that it can do.
And as always, I appreciate you for spending this time with me and allowing me to share what I know with you so that you can be helped and we can all grow. I appreciate you very much. Namaste. Thanks, guys. I'm going to stop this recording.